Hi, I'm Phil Proctor, and you're watching The Red Booth Show.
Hi, welcome to The Red Booth Show. I'm Kimberly. On tonight's episode, I have a legendary actor, Phil Proctor. He's going to talk to you about some of the films and television projects that he's been in, as well as Firesign Theatres, which he was nominated for Grammys. So come and join us. Hi, Phil. How are you?
How do you do? I'm fine. Thank you very much.
It's
nice
good to
be
see
here.
you again.
Thank you.
I got to see you at the launch of event for the Battlefield Earth book.
Oh, you mean this?
Yes.
Yes.
No, you...
That was the launch of this book.
And you played one of the characters in the new
Many of the
audiobook.
characters.
Many of
in
the
this
characters.
book, which is the joy of being a voiceover actor.
Yeah.
You don't have to put on a beard or anything to become another character. So there was Scottish characters in that, and I was an alien of some sort who was a banker who saved the universe. You know, just normal stuff.
That's right. You did an alien voice and a Scottish.
Yeah, one of the Scottish rebels, and various other little pieces. You know, that's the fun of being a member of a group. There were 67 actors.
Now that's
supplied
quite a
voices
lot
this,
for an audiobook, right?
It's an extraordinary amount. We also had 150,000 sound effects, which luckily we were not responsible for. 2 hours of original music. I mean, it's an epic piece. It's really a movie for the mind. And the amazing thing is, there's 47 and a half hours in the audiobook, which is already garnishing all kinds of wonderful awards, by the way, and which you can probably find online anywhere, you know, just Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, it's on Amazon and yeah.
And it's available in many interesting formats, including this little card here. This is 47 and a half hours worth of audio.
This little tiny thing?
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is just so you don't lose it.
Yeah, so what lose it? You plug it, you put it in like this, and then, oh, it's my part too.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that guy's good. Oh, I'm sorry. I should get back to but anyway, it shows you what an amazing modern world we're in, huh?
You're so funny. And you've done a lot of characters, actually, in many
Yes,
movies.
yes. In my 65 years in the industry, believe it or not, I started when I was 9 years old doing live television in New York on a show called Uncle Danny Reads the Funnies, which Elliot Gould also
That's amazing.
premiered on. And
9 years old?
I was 9 years old.
How did your parents, how did this happen?
My parents loved it because they were suppressed actors. You know? Yeah, and they loved it because my dad was a lawyer, but he was a very handsome man, and he also was a fine actor. Of course, all lawyers are fine actors. and my mom was a beautiful woman and also a wonderful actor. And they met in Indiana. He was from Elkhart, she was from Goshen. They met through the theater. But unfortunately, at that time, both of their families really prevented them from pursuing a theatrical career. Although my Uncle Clarence...
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I say about
Yeah,
that.
right. My Uncle Clarence was a production assistant in movies for many years. He did all the John Wayne movies. He worked with Abbott and Costello. He was married to my father's sister, and he lived out here. But he also died out here because of a movie that he did with John Wayne called The Conqueror, in which John Wayne played Genghis Khan. Everybody's probably heard about this because Wayne was such a great con man anyway. But no, I'm just kidding. And they died because they shot this thing in Utah on an atomic bomb test range.
Oh,
okay?
no.
So they all got cancer from breathing in radioactive dust all day. And of course, they lugged tons of it back to a sound stage here in Hollywood to finish up the shooting.
The sand?
Yes, the irradiated
Radioactive sand.
Radioactive sand.
That probably wasn't covered by insurance at the time.
I don't think it was. No.
Yeah.
And the movie did not get glowing reviews in spite of the fact that the sand was glowing. And
So was he the one that referred you to this show? And what did you do when you were on TV?
No, that was all from New York. I went to a school called Allen Stevenson School, which was a wonderful school on East 78th Street that had a terrific music program, started a terrific music program while I was there. And I did the female leads in the annual Gilbert and Sullivan shows that they did there because I was a boy soprano. Which is how I got the part of Howard on the Rugrats, because my voice never really changed. And anyway, I was one of my teachers, Mrs. Green. Her best friend was Helen Hayes, Helen Hayes, who is, a magnificent actress, kind of the Meryl Streep of her time in a way, although not as versatile.
On that note, we have to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
I hope I remember where I am.
Telling the story.
Oh, yes, the red booth. Yes, good.
We'll be right back with Phil Proctor.
I really wanted to put a deck on my house.
The floor was creaking, and there were cracks in the wall.
I had them put in walls in my basement.
Well, the whole thing was done on time, on budget, and not a day of work was missed.
Alpha Structural is a top-rate company. I'd recommend them to anybody.
If you live in a hillside home and gravity is pulling you towards the edge of the cliff, I recommend you call Alpha.
It was a real pleasure to work with Alpha.
Have you been denied credit or hit with high interest rates? A low credit score happens to many of us, especially if you've struggled with medical bills, divorce, student loans, job loss, and more. And millions of people are victims of incorrect items on their credit reports and don't even know it. This leads to a lower credit score. That's why you need to call Credit Repair Pros. We'll communicate with your creditors and the credit bureaus to address unfairly reported items, late payments, collections, charge-offs, and even bankruptcies. And that can lead to a higher credit score. Our proven process has resulted in past clients seeing on average significant improvements in their credit scores month after month. Start rebuilding your credit score today. Call now to start building a higher credit score to help you get the things you want, like a new car, new home, an education, or new job. Plus, call now and request your credit report and credit score for free in minutes.
Call 1-800-308-7306. That's 1-800-308-7306.
So, you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So, pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U for an independent you.
1-800-464-6830.
Welcome back to the Red Booth Show. We're here with actor Phil Proctor. So you were talking about the New York television show that you were in as a child.
Yeah, well, that was the beginning, I guess, of my professional career, if you will. There were no unions at that time, and they certainly weren't merged like After SAG now is. By the way, if you move the letters of After SAG around, you get a gas fart. Did you know that? Anyway, moving on. That particular time, since there were no unions, we were paid in the sponsor's product. So my first professional payment in this business was a bag of hurdy-gurdy oranges, which my mother would dutifully squeeze every morning before I'd go to school. So anyway, I had this wonderful...
You went out and earned that orange juice.
I earned that orange juice, that's right. And she'd put the cod liver oil in there, and I'd drink it down. But yes, I know. But having a wonderful opportunity to work in a school that, in a way... allowed theatrical expression. I played the violin in the school orchestra, and Alan Stevens has become really renowned for that. But at the time, our school orchestra would appear on television, local television, and tour around and do concerts in the New York area, because this was all taking place in Manhattan. But it was an opportunity for me to express myself naturally, because I always had these crazy abilities. The first time that my family knew that I was cursed or blessed with these particular talents was when I was a baby, and my grandfather was singing some militant hymn like "Onward Christian Soldiers" to me or something to put me to sleep, and I hummed it back to him. So he brought me down, held me in his arms, did it again. I hummed it again. It was my first public performance for the family. Last time I ever worked for free. From then on, it was oranges or nothing. But anyway, I was born with a kind of a tape recorder in my head. So I could hear music and repeat it.
I remember your lines.
Yeah. So, yes, but it's a great gift and great fun. And from that also comes dialects.
Right.
And I know you were born in England,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And you had now learned to speak proper English.
No.
Without the accent. You know what I'm saying? American, right? You speak proper English. Clear, nice, not hoity-toity or anything like that. And then you spent time in Australia, I understand, right?
Yes.
Down under.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did. We were talking about this earlier. He can do all these accents and voices and everything.
So much fun.
It is.
And that's why I got into the voiceover industry from the acting industry, because I started basically doing Broadway musicals.
You've done some character actors in some really big movies. I would like to mention some of them.
Please do.
Like, I know that you were in Finding Nemo recently.
Yes.
Okay.
Most of my career with Pixar was earlier in the Pixar catalog.
Okay.
And I did the two Toy Stories. I did Monsters
Who
Incorporated.
did you play in Toy Story?
Oh, just various roles. You see, a lot of what people don't understand about these animated films is that a group of loopers and improvisationary actors are invited in.
It's a good name for them, loopers, right?
Oh, they call them Loop to Loop and Loop Troop. There are all kinds of great groups. And we basically fill in all of the supernumerary characters. Now, in Finding Nemo, I'm the seahorse dad. You're a clownfish, say something funny, okay? And in Monsters Incorporated, I'm Charlie, and I manage a monster that gets the sock on his back. And I call in the Squat Squad. Squat Squad?
The squat team?
Squat team.
Yeah, there you go.
The Squat Squad. I like that, the Squat Squad. Anyway, when people ask me what roles I've done, it's sometimes rather complicated to describe
Right,
all of the
there's
roles.
so
that I've
many.
done. And in a film like that, you might do 10 roles.
And
you
these
see.
are with Disney and Pixar, and it's amazing.
Yeah, these are the big guys, and I've done
That's
the Muppet
pretty
movies
cool.
recently.
The Muppets? That's
oh,
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. And so many television shows at the height of my career. I was working all the time.
On that note, we have to take another quick break.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll be right back with actor Phil Proctor.
I really wanted to put a deck on my house.
The floor was creaking, and there were cracks in the wall.
I had them put in walls in my basement.
Well, the whole thing was done on time, on budget, and not a day of work was missed.
Alpha Structural is a top-rate company. I'd recommend them to anybody.
If you live in a hillside home and gravity is pulling you towards the edge of the cliff, I recommend you call Alpha.
It was a real pleasure to work with Alpha.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it,
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got, or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to the Red Booth Show. Apparently, we took too long of a break for Phil.
Is a break over?
Gosh,
that was a long
break.
Well,
I'm glad. Thanks for waking up. I didn't want to disturb you.
I kind of like being in this quasi-dream state, frankly, but that's all right. Drug-free, man. Oh, it's cool.
That's good.
It's groovy. Where were we?
So
Where am I?
We were just... You're in the Red Booth.
Ah, yes, the Red Booth.
Welcome to the Red Booth.
Good.
Welcome back
Good.
to the Red Booth.
Very comfortable.
So I think it's amazing how many big movies you've done with the studios that everybody knows about, Pixar and Disney.
But those are voiceover movies.
But now,
on-camera movies, the one that was the most exciting was Henry Jaglam's first film called A Safe Place, where I got to work with Tuesday Weld. She was my co-star. Orson Welles.
What?
Gwen Wells, who's no longer with us, bless your soul, and Jack Nicholson.
What was he like?
Oh, Jack is terrific.
Yeah?
He's a wonderful guy.
That's
terrific.
good.
And a great, improvisational actor. I also got to work with Tony Curtis once in a film called Lobster Man from Mars. I'm sure you've all seen it. And he was also wonderful fun to work with. Because the first thing, while he's applying his makeup in the morning, he says, "Would you mind if we improvise?" I said, "No, I love it." And we did. We improvised. He was a wonderful comedian and a terrific guy. So, it's a thrill. And I've done a lot of television. I did a lot of episodic television, worked with great people.
You have a documentary that's coming out as well, which is a period piece you were talking about. You're playing, I think, a detective or something.
Oh, no. I think what you're talking about is a PBS special that's going to be running during Black History Month on PBS for 3 one-hour segments. And it's called Francis Scott Key, after the song. And it has to do with the fact that Francis Scott Key, who was, besides being an amateur poet and writing, the wonderful poems became our national anthem, was a lawyer. And he worked with a contingency.
He was an anti-slavery
Right. He was one of the abolitionists, one of the people who was trying to abolish slavery during the beginning of the 19th century. And I play a character named John Randolph of Virginia, a senator.
A true character.
A true character.
Yeah.
And this particular documentary is going to be interviewing us as ghosts. So we're going to be speaking in our own words about our lives. My character was very eccentric. He had a high voice because of a testicular incident when he was a lad.
A testicular?
Yeah, arrested development, one might say. And he used to hold forth on the floor of the Senate for 6 terms, mind you, with his favorite slave, Juba, handsome boy, and his 2 beautiful white Afghan hounds.
Oh, my God.
He was an amazing character and very, very dedicated to eradicating slavery. He inherited 300 slaves himself, and he freed them all upon his deathbed.
Wow.
So he was an amazing man. And President Andrew Jackson is portrayed by my friend Gary Sandy, who from WKRP in Chicago, in Cincinnati. It's going to be a very, very interesting 3-part, nationally televised PBS series.
A 3-hour long total.
Well, 3 hours long,
yeah.
but it's going to deal with some very, very hot issues.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great fun.
Now, you've done a lot of different shows, I should say, with your Grammy-nominated show.
Oh, yeah. Now we're talking about the Firesign Theatere.
Yes.
Now, we were saying that Battlefield Earth is 47 and a half hours in an audiobook.
Which is like the longest that I think there is for a narrative fictional story.
But the Firesign Theatere has in this little book 85 hours of our radio shows on an MP3. You see? And in fact, one of the reasons I got involved with Galaxy Publishing and the works of L. Ron Hubbard, the great works of Pulp Fiction, the golden age of Pulp Fiction, was because, like the Firesign Theatere, which created the long-form audio comedy prototype, I would say, is that we created movies for the mind, and that's what they're dedicated to doing, by combining sound effects, music, wonderful writing, great acting, and narrative with the audio format, okay? And so that's what we did. This is one of our books, The Duke of Madness Motors. You can check out what Firesign Theatere is up to at firesigntheater.com. You can check out what I'm up to at planetproctor.com. And if you want to subscribe to Planet Proctor, which is a monthly newsletter of sorts, very graphic, you can just contact me at phil.proctor@mac.com. And it's free.
Okay. Well, on that note, we have to take another break, but we will be right back with the Red
I'll
Booth
try
Show.
to stay awake.
I really wanted to put a deck on my house.
The floor was creaking, and there were cracks in the wall.
I had them put in walls in my basement.
Well, the whole thing was done on time, on budget, and not a day of work was missed.
Alpha Structural is a top-rate company. I'd recommend them to anybody.
If you live in a hillside home and gravity is pulling you towards the edge of the cliff, I recommend you call Alpha.
It was a real pleasure to work with Alpha.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it,
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got, or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary.
Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to the Red Booth Show. We are here with actor Phil Proctor. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm still acting
Good.
as though I'm alive.
That's
Yes.
always good.
No, I'm still having a great time, and I'm very grateful to have been in the business as long as I have, and to have been able to do so many different things with it.
By the way, I wanted to ask you about Firesign. When did this come out? It was in the 60s and 70s?
The Firesign Theater got together in the mid-'60s, and we had our great success basically in the late 60s, early 70s. We sold lots of records. Our records are like Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers, which is in the Library of Congress as an historical recording. An historical recording. All right?
That's right, because these were all comedy routines. Basically,
Yes,
they're all stories.
we were satirical comedians making a cultural statement.
Right.
And it was during the anti-Vietnamese War movement and all that.
Right.
We were known as the jesters of the rock generation, the Beatles of comedy, and we precluded Monty Python and their great success. But we created, as I say, the long-form, multi-leveled comedy record that we expected people to listen to over and over and over again. And indeed, they did. And many people could quote the albums, verbatim
That's
to me, which is
amazing.
good because I can't remember them at all anymore.
And
But
when were you guys nominated for the Grammys for these?
over the years,
There was three
the
different or four
70s, 80s, and 90s, I think we did the first CD comedy album. Nick Danger, in the case of in the Three Faces of Al, it was called. And we were nominated most recently for, can't remember what it was, we lost to the 2,000-Year-Old Man, to Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, who were very gracious and mentioned us in their acceptance speech. And I can't remember, maybe that was the Three Faces of Al. But we've done so many albums, it's sometimes hard for me to know exactly which ones we were nominated for. I have to go look at my wall of awards and nominations.
What a bummer that must be. That's a lot of
It's
work.
tough.
Really
It's
tough
tough, yeah.
gig. Yeah.
Tough to keep it all. The longer you work, the harder it is to keep it all together.
So now, what are you mostly focusing on in
I started to tell you.
Yes, I know.
I'm working with Jamie Elcroft,
Okay.
and we're doing a mini-series called Boomers on the Bench. Boomers on a Bench.
Okay.
And basically, it's two old farts sitting on a bench talking about the news with newspapers and talking about life, what it's like to get old, and what it's like to have been young. And it's a lot of fun. You can find it on YouTube and Facebook.
Okay.
Boomers on a Bench. And you get to see, what I'm up to at the moment, plus other events, as you've heard. I will also be appearing locally in the Falcon Theater, the late Gary Marshall's wonderful theater in Toluca Lake, in an original play about Harpo Marx and Oscar Levant.
Wow.
If you know who they are, you know who Harpo Marx is. If you know who Oscar Levant is, you get an extra point. But in any event, it's called For Piano and Harpo, because Oscar Levant was a very famous concert pianist and an acerbic wit at his time. And at one point, one of the highest paid stars in Hollywood. And it's written by Dan Castellaneta.
How many performances?
Easier to say Homer. Homer Simpson wrote it.
How many performances are you guys going to be doing?
We'll be doing 5 weeks starting in February and ending March 5th.
Cool.
At the Falcon Theater. And it's a comedy, it's a dark comedy that is all about Oscar Levant, who was addicted to pills and things. It's about his time spent in a psycho ward in California, and he's reliving his life. So I get to play like a dozen characters.
How fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Phil, it's been so great having you on the show. Thank you.
Really good.
Yes. I'm sure we've barely even touched the surface of all of the things that you've been involved with. But it's amazing to have you here. Oh, I wanted to ask you one last question.
Sure.
If you were going to teach somebody to be a character actor, what would be the best tip you could give them?
Imitate other people. The world is filled with characters. So if you want to be a character actor, find somebody who interests you. Find out what it is. Just by imitating them, you can often discover what it is that's interesting about that person. And what makes him tick. Meryl Streep is our shining example of how to absorb a character, and her present movie about Florence Foster Jenkins, I highly recommend to everybody. It'll make you cry, it'll make you laugh, and it again expresses what a great genius she is. But obviously she had this great talent of mimicry, of being able to observe someone and become that person, both with her voice and her body, her mind, her personality. And that's the fun, really, of acting. So if you enjoy doing it, do it as often as you can,
Very
Play
cool.
with it. It's all about play.
That's great. Wonderful words of wisdom for everybody out there. And coming from a veteran of how many years you've been doing this?
65 years.
65 years. That's
But who's
pretty
counting?
amazing.
Well, at least I can still count. That's good.
Thanks again for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.